Hey guys, it's Rhonda Draculis, and guess what? We're gonna be playing with insulation foam. Those that have been watching me lately know I really just have a really cool relationship and love with this stuff. There's so much you can do. We've done shower panels. My backdrop is also foam. You can see it's seamless. The uses are endless. So now I've really kind of started jumping into the art side of it and how can we use it in the art world. I'm not a big artist, you guys know that, but I am so inspired by so many people on the internet that use this as an art form. So what we're gonna do today is my little version of a really cool wall hanging that I was inspired by several people on the internet. So what we're gonna do first is I've taken 1/2 inch foam. You could do this with 3/4 inch. 1/2 inch just happens to be what I had left in the back. So then we're gonna apply some texture medium to give some depth and dimension to this piece. We'll pour some epoxy and just see what happens. So my end result basically is kind of a black ocean quote view. We're going to have a rugged side in matte paint. The contrast is going to be the very high gloss epoxy with some waves, and then we'll have some gold leafing. So that's kind of my theory. We'll see how it actually ends up. All right, so normally I do use the side that doesn't have the writing, but this side, because it is a scrap piece and it was just thrown out into the shop, it's got some really big divots. So I'm gonna use the side with the writing. It's no big deal. I'm gonna paint this whole thing black anyway. So first off, we're gonna apply some texture medium. Now I wanted to rough up where I'm gonna be having the texture medium just to give it a tooth. So I have 80 grit sandpaper and all I did was kind of drag it across the top. You don't have to get super deep, just create some sort of a profile on there. You can see I kind of drew with the line just to give myself a little bit of a boundary. Not that I'm gonna follow it exactly, but it does help me kind of keep my ratio going. All right, so that's all I'm doing, 80 grit, and we are good to go. Okay, so we're gonna start off by using a texture medium that I have used for years in my faux finishing days called Artsyville, and it's available on Artistic Painting Studios website. Jennifer Ferguson is literally one of my very, very best friends. So use code RK3 if you go to her site and save yourself 10%. All right, so I've got my Japanese trowel here. You don't have to use a trowel like this. You can use just about anything. But what we're gonna do is start laying down this texture. And the texture is going to be just exactly like it sounds. It's gonna have a lot of texture. In fact, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go in here with a stick. Actually, it's gonna be a lot faster. So see, I just saved yourself some money, didn't I? Like I had mentioned, this texture medium is my all-time favorite. I have done tables. I have done stenciling on walls. It is so incredibly durable, especially on a tabletop. I use my decorative rollers. I've done textures like leopard and all kind of really cool designs. It is very impact resistant. It works great alone with maybe just a sealer, and it also works really good under epoxy for those countertops. I did a really cool design where we used some rollers to create a wood grain. We'll link that video in the description of this video to give you some really cool ideas of what all can be done. All right, so I'm just kind of getting it smeared on right now. I'm not really worried about what it looks like. This is gonna be almost acting like a lava beach, I guess you would call it. I do want it to be a little high. So this, guys, has quite a long open time. You've got a good probably 30, 45 minutes, and especially as thick as I'm putting it on, you're not gonna have to worry about hurrying. Now, because it is thick and because it is rather cool right now, probably the best thing to do is let this dry overnight so that you are ensuring yourself that you don't have a lot of moisture. Now, if you live in a hot, dry area, or if you even put it in front of a heater, you could do that as well. Now, you don't want to heat it too fast. That could cause some cracking. All right, so now I'm going to come in. You could do this with just about anything, but what I'm doing really is peeking it and getting me some real good peaks. Lots of texture. Now, I'm going to come through and just knock down just a little bit so I don't have a lot of really sharp edges. This texture medium is so durable and so tough that once it does dry and cure, it can get really sharp. So by knocking it down just a little bit, it'll help me to avoid having to sand a lot. Okay, so we will let this dry. We'll come back, we'll paint the whole substrate, and then we'll get to some really fun stuff. Okay, so it's the next day. I came back, I painted 2 coats of just our black undercoat paint. You can use any kind of latex paint. Now what I'm gonna do, because I want the textured area to be really a matte finish, I'm not worried about the rest of it because it's gonna have epoxy. So I went and got just some black matte spray paint. All right, so I'm gonna hit that. It's very important to realize you cannot use spray paint directly on foam. You will cause a reaction, so that's kind of a pro tip. Okay, the matte spray paint will dry super fast. I'm gonna come mix up some Speedcure, just a very thin layer. I'll probably just do about 2 ounces per square foot because I just want to have a really smooth, solid base before we go to the waves. Okay, I've got my Speedcure mixed up at 2 ounces per square foot. Now the Speedcure is just what it means. It is very quick. So let's go. All right, I've tinted it opaque with my black Alumilite dye. Now I'm not gonna push it all the way up to that edge just yet. So I am gonna torch it a little bit. And the only reason I'm really torching it is not so much for the bubbles, but I wanna get this product to be a little more fluid. It's pretty cool right now in our shop, and this Speedcure has a tendency to be thicker anyway. So by heating it up just a little bit, I'm able to get it to spread a little bit thinner. Normally, when I'm pouring, especially if I'm doing countertops where I'm using 3 to 6 ounces or even more per square foot, I want my temperature to be at least, in my opinion, 70 or above. I always like to tell people, epoxy doesn't care about your situation. It just cares about the condition that it's in. Okay, so that was easy. Even though it's a little wavy because I used a really thin layer of epoxy, I'm not worried about it at all. We're gonna come back tomorrow, clear coat it, and then I'll do my waves. Now the reason I'm not doing my waves directly on top of the black, which I often do in my ocean pours, is because I don't wanna have any chance of my waves picking up this black. So that's why I'm gonna allow this to dry, then come over with clear, push my waves, and hope for the best. Okay, our first layer of resin is dry, and I went back over the textured part with some matte black spray paint. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna put a thin layer of clear Speedcure, and we're gonna attempt to make some gold waves. Notice I said attempt, so let's see what happens. First of all, we're gonna sand. Lightly sand. All this is gonna do is ensure that our next layer of resin has a really good bite and we won't have any adhesion issues. All right, got that? Clean it up and let's go mix up some resin. Okay, I mixed up 2 ounces per square foot of our Stone Coat Countertop Speedcure. The Speedcure is our new product that is a quick cure epoxy. It's a little thicker than the regular Art Coat or the countertop epoxy, and it will actually cure and be sandable in about 4 to 6 hours. So it's a great resin to use for art or small projects. It's got high levels of UV protection, just like our Art Coat, and I absolutely love it. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit out, being really careful not to get on my mat. Now, if it touches a little bit, I'm okay with that because I'm actually gonna kind of paint a barrier later on after we're finished with this. So guys, if you've never seen me do an ocean pour, I'm not an expert, but I have done some really, really pretty pieces. One of the pieces I'm really proud of is a dresser, and we will link that video in the description of this video. Go check that out, and you'll see me do an actual beach scene. Like I said, this one's gonna be with gold, which is gonna be a little tricky, using that gold as opposed to the white paste. That gold's gonna actually have pieces of metal in it, little flecks, and it's probably gonna sink a little more than what I normally use. Come back in here and run some of that clear right up next to, oops, I dripped a little bit on that mat, but I'm just gonna wipe that off. We'll be okay. Okay, here we go. Let's see how this turns out. Now I'm using Just Resin Rich Gold, and I didn't really overload my resin with the pigment. I don't want it to be too heavy. So I'm gonna do a little bit at a time and just kind of run along that beach line. And I'm not going right next to, I'm giving myself a little bit of room so that I'm not right next to that texture medium. All right, so I'm gonna come in with a hair dryer as opposed to a heat gun so that I don't heat my resin really that much and cause my pigment to sink. Okay, that was fun. All right, I'm gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna come back and we're going to touch up my texture and add a few gold accents and see what we turn out with. Okay, so what I've decided after really thinking about it is I love the design of the gold, but the gold did not come out as bright as what was in my head. So I tried to do my gold line, which is gonna be my contrast between my matte and my shiny, with the paintable gold. And I didn't like it because if you can see, I've got a really bright gold next to a really dull gold, and it's just not jiving. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna create the waves again over the top of the gold with white, like a regular beach scene. Now I'm gonna have contrast of the white and the black with the gold in the middle, and hopefully these undertones of the golds that are there are going to complement it. So we'll see. And you know what? This is art, guys. This is the thing. I'm not doing a countertop that's gonna be sitting in a kitchen. I am doing a piece of art that's gonna sit on the wall. And art is in the eye of the beholder. So I'm the beholder, it's my art, and let's just see where this takes us. Okay, so I have my Speedcure mixed clear, and I have my white mixed. All right, so what I'm gonna do, come down here quickly, just gonna pour out my clear. All right, I'm gonna heat it up just a little bit. Because I am using less per square foot, I really wanna warm this up a little bit so that I can get it spread out. Okay, so I got this out. All right, so I've got some clear left in the bucket. I'm gonna pour it down, a little strip of that. And then I'm gonna come in with my titanium. Okay, we'll let this dry and then I'll come back and I'll do my gold. Now I can see, I really like this a lot better. That gold that I'm gonna use is gonna be a really good contrast between the white and the black. And that's what I was going for from the very beginning. Like I said, I didn't like that gold that I used the first time. I love the gold, it's not what was in my head. So we'll let this dry and we'll be back. Okay. It's the next day. And now everything's dry. Absolutely love, love, love how it turned out. And I found the link to the artist that inspired me on this piece. It's not exactly what she did. I added kind of my own little twist, but I definitely was inspired by her. Her name is Emily Miksevich Art, and she's on Instagram. So shout out to Emily. Thank you for inspiring me and doing amazing work. So here we go. What I did is now we want to just paint the gold. That's going to separate the matte from the shiny and give us that real contrast that caught my eye, to be honest with you, when I was going through the videos. So liquid gold, we have it, put it in a cup, all right? And all we're gonna do is paint it on. Fuck around, it ate my cup. Why would it eat my cup? My cup's paper. Well, undoubtedly it's not paper. Nope, this is a plastic one. All right, so now this I'm just gonna have to repaint. However, that might be cool. Flicked. Okay, guys, all right, so this is the real stuff. So I accidentally grabbed, didn't even pay attention, a Dixie cup. It was in the same spot that all my paper Dixie cups are in. Didn't even pay attention that this is a plastic one. This is like spray paint. Ate right outside my cup. Look at it, just ate it all. So now I have a nice little mess here, and it dripped on my surface. So, not exactly the look I was going for, and I'm going to fix it some, but I love these specs. I love them. So what we're gonna do is, I'm just gonna do an audible again. So I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, and then we're gonna go back and we're gonna put some gold flecks. Let me know, what would you do? Would you have put the flecks or just kept it black matte? Let me know. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm coming back over just with a matte black spray paint. And the reason I'm doing that is I didn't want those big blobs of the gold. So I'm just gonna kind of blend all this back in. And then we're just gonna pretend that just didn't happen. And you know what? I'm not gonna waste this paint. I'm just gonna, look, there's my cup. My bottom of my cup. All right, I'm just gonna use it from here. I'm all about saving paint, so here we go. All right, and I don't want this to be perfect. I want it to be very organic, so I'm just gonna kind of drag. You could do this with gold leaf. You could do it with the foil. You could do it with just about anything that you want. This happens to be what I had in my arsenal of stuff, and this is what we're doing. This is so pretty. I love that contrast with that black and that gold. That's what caught my eye, actually, in the video, the original video that I saw. I've seen several people do this kind of, I guess, design. Hers, Emily's, is the one that really caught my eye. Maybe it was the way she edited her video, or I'm not sure, but that's what really kind of inspired me to try to do one. So everyone saw my oopsie that I just had. Have you guys had an oopsie like that? And did something good come out of that oopsie, that happy accident? Let me know what your oopsie was, and was it a good or a bad oopsie? So one time I was doing a design and I had 2 cans of spray paint next to me. One was black and one was, I don't even know what the other color was. It was like a blue. And I grabbed the blue thinking it was a black, and I sprayed it right across the finish. And I was like, uh-oh. And actually, it turned out better than it would have turned out if I had the black. So that was a good oopsie. But I've had just as many oopsies that did not turn out so good. And I had to completely restart. So, you never know. It's like going to Vegas. Okay, love that. Okay, cool. Let's let that dry a little bit, and I'll come back and I'll do my little drips, and then we're gonna call it a day. Okay, you know, my little ingenious here. So I've covered my shiny spot with paper towels, and now I'm gonna come over the top. Now I'm gonna practice for just a second my little technique of doing blob. Oh, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here. All I'm gonna do is kind of hit my paintbrush, and that's what I'm going for, is these little dots. So I'm still using my spilt paint here. Kind of nervous. Here goes. Oh yes, I love it. How fun, I love it. There we go, that's what I want. So while it's doing big drops, I'll get down here, and then it goes back to doing little drops. There we go. Okay, I like this. I mean, you know what? Hey, this might be what the beach looks like on Mars. Who knows? But I like it. Very cool. Let me know. Do you guys like this? I think it's so cool. I love it. And y'all don't have to love it, but I love it, so that's all that matters. All right, guys, I think we're done. Actually, I'm gonna sign. I rarely sign my name on something, but I think it would look cool to sign my name at the bottom. And the only reason I say that is because I think it's gonna pull that gold into the bottom of the piece. So that's kind of cool. Now I'm gonna have to turn it around. And I'm just gonna take that leftover, see all this leftover stuff? I'm just gonna grab it, hit it with a sander, and just make it nice and smooth. Note to self, next time, wear your glasses. I have no idea what this looks like. All right, how about that? Very cool. We're done. How fun? How fun was this? Super simple on a scrap piece of foam. Let me know in the comments below. What colors would you do? What do you like? What would you change? All the things, let me know. All right, guys. So remember, don't be scared. Move forward and be creative, y'all.